Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, part 3 of the landscape challenge. And what in the world is this? Here is where we left off the forest, the landscape after part 2, and let's give it a 360 spin. We're going to go this way first to reveal the side view or the front view in the future, perspective, the back, the other side, and back to the other proposed front. The more traditional proposed front. I will always start showing it probably that way and spin it around and see how we go. We got a couple of quake and aspen up here. We've got all the zelkovas back here, a Japanese elm tree, and we have the centerpiece, the big oak tree, which is a boxwood with all the gnarly roots and the big rock there. So today on the episode, we're going to do some muck. I had mentioned we're going to make some muck, so we are going to do that. I've got some sphagnum moss all shredded up already. I've got some extra if we need it. I've got some recently sifted the super fines of the akadama mix to give it that more dirt road look, because we're going to put a dirt road right here. I have a little bit of the pumice here, and we're going to go ahead and make our dirt road. So let's move this out of the way so we don't bump it, and let's make ourselves some muck. As promised, we're going to get ourselves a little bit of dirt in our fingers, and we're going to get some sphagnum moss in our fingers, and we're going to make some muck. So the last time I made some muck, I put it on my white paper birch forest on the slab. Hey, take a peek at that episode. I'll put it up there in one of the corners and description down below if I remember to do that. I always forget that part. But go check out the birch forest with a couple of maples on there as well on the slab where we made some muck. So I've got some sphagnum moss all chopped up here. I wasn't concerned about it being big or little. Sometimes we leave it bigger and longer and stragglier if we want to hold things in, like I did with that piece out there. It's in the garage right now. And here's some of the fines from the akadama. We get some really fine stuff in here. There's little tiny rocks in there. It'll be good to put on as a top coat, but we're also going to put it on as some muck. So we're going to make a nice dirt road for our landscape. So it's time to get dirty. So a little bit of sphagnum moss just to help things keep together a little bit. This isn't going to be really holding up any structure. There's not going to be any trees that are like using this in any way, shape, or form. So this is just to make a little bit of muck to kind of form our road. Yeah, and that's not even close to enough water there, is it? Yeah, let's keep going. So I'm going to decide tonight, I hope, if I'm going to have one road or two. I, of course, have contemplated all kinds of things with this landscape challenge with my farmyard pasture. And, you know, do I put a road that goes through the farmyard? Do I just have the road that I, as a viewer of the farmyard, drive by and see? Is it a road that's not a paved road? I thought about that. And I thought, no, I don't want paved road. I just want this to be a back farm country road. And as you're getting closer to the cabin, you're further away from the cities. You get more isolated as much as possible. And so that's what this is going to be right here. But I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more of the akadama. We're going to go a little bit more on the water. And for all intents and purposes, I probably didn't even need the sphagnum moss in here. But it'll help keep it together and bind it a little more. Of course, there's not going to be a lot of roads going. You know, I even thought as so far as to make this road bumpy. You know how you get that washboard effect when you're driving down those country roads and you got to... Yeah. Okay, so here we go. We are focusing on this side right here. And this is going to be a road. Whether it's a service road, whether it's just kind of the main country road. I'm just going to put this muck along here. And I might even have too much of the bonsai soil below it. Bonsai. But But we'll squish it down and we'll see. And then I'm going to put a layer of the actual Akadama fines on the top here. Though this isn't a very big pot for a lot of force perspective, I am making the road a little bit wider up at the front than I am at the back from that front view that you're seeing right now. So it looks like, you know, the road, as it goes back further, we get smaller and smaller and smaller into the horizon, right? So I obviously made plenty of muck, but I was telling you I might make more than one road. Okay. Push that soil down, stuff it on in there. Time for some tools. Now, the challenge here is that if this is a road, I'm awfully close to this tree. So I don't want to be that close to that tree if this is indeed a road. And then that goes true for this tree. So we want to get a little bit of separation from the road. There's not much of a ditch on this country road, and the trees butt right up to the edge of the road. Whenever you have a situation like that, you know you're deeper into the woods. Maybe this is snowplowed, one of the last roads to be snowplowed because they get all the main roads first. And so we've got to take away a little bit of this force perspective here, and we got to make this road shove more over here. And if we have to take some muck out, so be it. Because we don't want this tree growing up right over the road, but close. My brother's place in upstate New York, and now that's a dirt road because you're up there in the hills of the Adirondacks, and you go up and down and all around, and yeah, there's some trees. There's a lot of towns in upstate New York, if you've not been there, a lot of towns where these roads are literally, I mean, I'm 5 feet maybe from the edge of the road is the actual house. I'm not even talking a tree. So in scale, if this is a road and I've got a chopstick here between, that might be enough to get that road. So there we go. Paying attention a little bit to the detail there of having a road here, and it's going to go down there, and we've got a little gap between this tree, a little gap between this tree right here, and that's probably good for right there. Now, the fun part. With some of these mid-sized pebbles of Akadama, some dust, some small rocks, there we go. And then when you water this, it'll get dark in color, but then when it's dry, it'll be this dry dirt road look. So this is all 100% Akadama dust, and we don't have any more sphagnum moss on this part of the road. And there we go. There. Now, a little bit of smooshing down of this road again. Boy, this would have been a pretty nicely constructed road. It's pretty thick. If this is even close to scale, whoo, that's a thick road. But we might get some water erosion here. But this is a road. There won't be a tree this close to the edge. I'm not worried about the water rolling off this part of the pot, so I'm not so worried about a bulge on here. And this is a landscape, and I like when landscapes, get out of the pot and get a little bit hilly and stuff, right? Which is why I wanted this tree on a hill. And I'm still thinking, I'm wishing that was about, another inch or so higher. But there we go, our country road. That's all Akadama on top. So again, when that dries, that'll be the light tan color. Let me pull back on camera here and see what this new road now is looking like on our little landscape. Here we go. All right, that looks pretty good. Okay, so that's there. So my other dilemma then was to have a road in the farmland. But now, here's where the scale starts to backfire on me. If this is the size of a dirt road, but that's where 2 cars can maybe fit through, I could still make a road on the back end of this cabin that swings around and then goes onto this road as like a service road into the farm. But I also could put a road right here. So decisions. Now I could put a road on this side too, but then it's kind of framed. I don't know if it's little heavy over here. I've also considered adding some more small trees here to round out the forest. I've also, after looking at this with 2 episodes, thinking, gosh, if I had a couple more trees in between here to make it more of a dense forest. But I suppose I could always add trees later, especially with these small skinny ones. They're easy to pop on in there. So yeah, if anybody has any comments to share with me, should I add a few more small trees? Should I just leave it the way it is and let it leaf out and see next year? I'm okay with it the way it is now. The trees look pretty good. Now if we go this way, so again, oh, you probably don't have the great perspective anymore because the camera's higher. But then we have this way where you're looking from the road. As you're driving this way, looking at the farm, here's that big tree and here's this line of trees that kind of border this farmer from that farmer, a little wind barrier maybe from where they live. So we'll have to look at that. But do I make a road on this side? I could make it half its size just for the perspective of the, hey, there's a road right there, but I don't have to make it as wide. I do have the space to make it wide. So I've considered making a trail here, and what I would do with that, and this would be the hard part, is I would make a trail. You know when you go up to your cabin, if you have a road that's not a paved road, or it's a dirt road even, but it's the road where they literally drove through the woods or around the grass, and you have the tire tracks with the grass on either side and the grass in the middle. I would love to create that for this middle path. So if I could make it skinny enough and then add some of the green stuff later, I think that would be kind of fun to try. So I would have a meandering path maybe from here, a small road, service road that kind of comes. Now these rocks will be gone because of, again, they're holding the trees down. And I could have it meander this way, curve a little bit, and come up over here. That's a possibility. Or just all the way around the back of the trees here and curve back up and go off the service road there. That might be okay. So I have to consider if I want to do that or not. But if I put a small road back here, that takes away from some of this farmland. Because remember, everybody, this is farmland, so we have to try to make it look like farmland. So I've got some thinking to do. I'm going to do that while I put you on pause, which for you will be a nanosecond. My brain is in think mode. So one of the features of my landscape was going to be some kind of farm, but I didn't know what kind of crop I was going to have. And I thought, you know what? I've got a pile of raffia that I probably will never use in my lifetime. You never know. So I got some of this plastic, grid board for needle pointing, mesh. I got a 7 and a 10. The 7 was a little bit too small, but the 10 was a nice size. And yeah, if you haven't figured it out by now, I literally stuck through this raffia 1 square at a time, bent it over and stuck it through. I tied a couple knots on the first ones and said, nah, it's not going to work. And I literally weaved them in. I put one side in and the other side in and pulled them up. And there I have a, looks like possibly a cornfield or wheat field, or in this case, I think it's going to be straw hay. Here's my hay crop, everybody. Where are we going to put that in the design? You're going to have to wait for that. I want to make sure that it stays in place. So while I'm thinking about if I'm going to add another road or not, I'm going to add a little bit of the E6000 cement here. And we're going to go ahead and get some of this, hopefully in a place where it's going to be nice and sturdy for years to come. I hope this stuff is still pliable and I can do that. And so I figured I would just goop some of this on and make sure that it all stays on there. So we're going to do that real quick. While I was making this upstairs on the kitchen table the other day, my family was thinking I was absolutely nuts, and they were just trying to figure out, oh my gosh, how much are you going to do that, Dave? I was thinking I maybe have to do half of the sheet. Here's the thing, I could do the whole sheet, and I could maybe get a taste for what Steve went through with all of those bricks. Oh my, I still think about your bricks, Steve, and just in awe and amazement at that level of craftsmanship and patience. I think that's enough glue on there. I got most of the stalks. I got a lot of stickiness there. And that's going to just hold most of this in place in case it gets jarred, or it should be fine. And as I might have mentioned, did this really have to be done, this part of it? Maybe not. But I just thought it should have a nice strong base. Goodness gracious, it is not February anymore. Yeah, it is March the 13th today. It took me 2 weeks to change my calendar. That's awful. Look at the Scots pine, Pinus sylvestris. Again, this is from the Toronto Bonsai Society, their 2023 calendar. Let's get that up in its hook on the wall there. Now we've got a nice Scots pine up there to keep us company for the next couple of videos. We have our dirt road. We have our trees that are comfortable. This has been trimmed a little bit. Do I add a little bit of a muck road on that side, a skinny one just for perspective? Well, here's the thing. I could probably put a muck road there, a skinny one, and then we can look at it and see if we like it. So, why don't I go do that, and then we can see if that's something we want to keep. Because again, I want to make sure that this looks good from both angles. Your traditional wide left to right look. And I also want to see if it'll look good from the other direction as well, from the narrow way. So let's put a little muck on here, and worst case, we clean it off and we say it's not going to work. There were some comments with the first episode talking about force perspective and people looking forward to seeing what I was thinking about doing and like the idea of a force perspective and how do I do that. And of course, a force perspective from this angle that I'm looking at, which you're peeking at from behind, would be a really big tree in the foreground and small trees in the background. Well, that's what the oak tree is supposed to represent. But the oak tree is also supposed to represent it's far out there in the field, and right now it only is not quite halfway to the back of the pot, so it's hard to get that forced perspective, especially with multiple directions on your pot here. Okay, so I've got some muck here next to the other road, and again, if I want some forced perspective, I can make the road skinnier on the backside over here and wider up by the road up there. And so when we turn this pot around, I'm looking down this road and it's getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier and fatter up here towards this main road. This also could be one of those roads that you turn off, and this could be the service road. So what if I make this the road where I have the tire tracks and I have grass down the middle and 2 tire tracks on either side? Or yeah, the tire tracks on either side. I've got the wider road over here, and it's real skinny here, but it gives you the idea that there's another road going this way, that you could take a left-hand turn here and go down this country road to this farmer's house. And so that is the plan. I think it's nice and skinny. I can always change it later. I think I'll leave it there for now, and we'll add a little bit of that. Let's add some more of the akadama to finish it off. Again, we can take off some of the extra off the side of this pot here. Now that I'm doing this and thinking about this, one of the fears that I have is maybe that the moisture will stick with this muck, and it'll be a long time before the road dries. But the top should dry first, like most of our pots outside on a dry, windy day. I think I need a little bit more in this corner right over here. Look at that, there we go. Some nice pebbles in there to... Okay, so we have a dirt road that encompasses our pot. And the weight now of all these rocks in here too, and this muck, is going to hopefully flatten out my pot that came a little crooked, as I mentioned. You can see a little dry, little hint of the dryness right here, that lighter color. All right, so we have a farm road. That's maybe the road, the driveway to their house, and maybe I just make this a one-car road with a little bit of grass in the middle. But now, how to find the grass? All right. So the next part I'm going to work on is going to be the land around the big oak tree in the middle. So let's go grab my moss. Earlier this winter, I did a little experiment, and I have some moss that I got from the cabin. And it's sun moss. It's up on the roof of the cabin. It was really nice looking moss. And I dried it up, crumpled it all up, put it with some sphagnum moss, and put it into 2 trays. And I've been growing it in my plant room. Well, I should say trying to grow it. And so, I don't know if I should wet it right now. So, what I've done is kept it moist, and it dries out maybe a little bit too much. But I have it, it's a little bit green in color. It looks like there's maybe some moss trying to develop here. We've got this dark green kind of color. So, I figured instead of laying fresh sphagnum moss all over my farmyard, I would go ahead and put that centerpiece where the tree is. I give it a little bit of hopefully quicker greening up moss, because it's got some moss spores in there from when we did this concoction. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to lift up the creation here, and we'll probably get some soil, which won't be a big deal, and we're going to transplant it onto our landscape design. I moved the rock over here for a reason, and you're going to find out that reason in a little bit. But for right now, I want to have a little bit of land that kind of teardrops around this tree that the farmers just don't plant anymore. So I'm going to back this up a little bit as far as I can, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get this moss here. I'm going to turn this sideways for you. You're going to have to look down the proposed second front, and we're going to see if we can create this little bit of grass for our tree. Okay, so did I leave myself enough room? All right, here we go. I have no idea how this is going to come up, so another experiment here. Oh, look at that. It almost comes up, well, it does come up. And there's fine soil there, and so there we go. All right. So we're going to put some moss back here. Okay. And we're going to put some moss maybe right there. And get some of this really greener stuff here. And we're going to put some moss right by this rock. And we want to go around the rock a little bit. We want that rock to be seen. It's like I've created my own moss like you buy in those bags, and you just start putting them in your plants. Now, I want to be careful here. I don't want to cover up all of these roots because I love the exposed root, and that's part of the reason why I liked this tree so much. So I don't want to cover up all those roots, but I do want to tuck a little bit of moss maybe in between here. And then we can put a little bit of moss right in front right there. And so right now it's looking like this farmer lost most of his land in the foreground where we can't have crops. So, you know, that's okay. Could be worse. All this stuff is moving around pretty loosely here. Let's get rid of this brown section right here. Let's get some more green. There we go. How about green in here? There we go. Let's get that in there. All right. So again, this field had a little bit of hills on it. You know, when you get crops with hills on it, you know, some of the lower lying areas get all kinds of moisture and water, and it doesn't grow very well. So the crops that you're growing might not do so well. And so we've got a little bit of land here where we have some green grass, aka moss, that just forms this little union of where this tree was left alone to grow in all its glory out in the field, and the farmer had the great vision to leave it there because it was so pretty, or maybe just too much work to take down. You know, you be the boss of that. This is my story, but you can help tell it. All right, so getting this moss nice and wet. And in the future, I really do need a good spray bottle that just sprays fine mist, so I don't keep this thing totally wet all the time with this kind of water that I'm putting on it right now. But this is just to make sure that all this is good and wet, and it's going to form the way we want it to form in some of these pockets here. All right. Nice. Okay. So we have a nice little plot of moss. Hopefully it greens up, continues to thicken up here. And again, this is where the farmer just can't quite get the till in there because he's preserved a little bit of land. Okay, let me come back and peek with you. Okay, we have our dirt road that got a piece of pumice on there. Get rid of that pumice there. What's going on here? My dirt road's getting dirty. I don't want my dirt road getting dirty. Okay, we have a little place where kids can go out and play out in the grass, out there by the big old oak tree that hopefully will get big gnarly branches and all kinds of fun ramification in years to come as the background forest fills in as well. So there we have another section today, 2 roads and some grass to play on. Let's do a 360, shall we? So here's the proposed front with the new grass on the oak tree. It looks like a little hill and a mound now, which is kind of nice. We've got the dirt roads as you come this way. Yeah, you can still see this scene developing. The road's a little bit skinnier down here for a little bit of perspective. And we've got the back, kind of cool from the neighbor's yard. They can see a pretty nice field. We've got this side right here. And then here we come with the front. And that is still the proposed typical front. But I'm telling you, I don't know, this might be it. I don't know. We'll see with those final touches here. So there we have it. It's been fun. You know, I'm having a blast working on this. And you know, I think I'm more of a forest guy than anything else. I think I've always been that way, and I've been doing more and more forests in the last couple of years. The birch cluster on that slab, the larch forest. And when I've gone to see other people's trees, Jack Weichel last summer, and seeing that amazing larch forest up close and personal with 21 or 23 trees, Nigel's forests. You know, I love the forest. I really aspire to be like those gentlemen and do some great stuff. But what about this stuff? It's a good mohawk. Yeah, no, it's not going to be a mohawk. Where will this go? We don't have time today. It's going to be on the next show, number 4, and maybe some finishing touches. Will it be the reveal? You'll have to come back and watch. All right, hey, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we'll catch you on the next show, whether it's finishing this up or maybe another surprise. Who knows? And we'll see you then.